social justice, as an example.
Yes.
Since they have no knowledge of the major problems of capitalism and the capitalist civilization which has become global. And therefore the question is, if we believe that the normative discourse that you have presented is the correct discourse, but in actuality it is cut off from life, it is alienated from life, then the question is, how can we establish bridges between this discourse and the contemporary needs of the Muslim world?
Actually, this madrasa system was devised to produce legal experts of Islam and the magistrates and judges on the Muslim governments. It has some relation with hadith, but mainly it is fiqh. So actually, we should say this is out of the context, it's gone away. Now we are producing only Maulvis who can lead prayers in the mosques, who can give you fatwa about very small things, that's all. Because when Islam or Muslims degenerated, Islam didn't remain a deen, it became a mazhab. Now if the Britishers were ruling over here, the law was the British law, civil code, penal code, and so forth. What was the job of the Muslim ulama? Leading prayers and teaching people how to say prayer and how to keep fast, and that's all. And this part of our society has become accustomed to this part of deen only, and that is mazhab and not Islam. And they are not very much concerned with Quran. So we have to bring about and establish an educational system based primarily on Quran.
So you're saying that the ulama in, let's say, Pakistani society are not concerned about the Quran?
I think that is not included in their courses. Very small part of Quran is included in their courses. They are more concerned with hadith and fiqh.
I think that there is a larger question about the status of the ulama in contemporary Muslim societies, specifically in South Asia. And from what you're saying, that the ulama are facing a major crisis.
Actually,
in
what
terms of
happened,
their own Islamic
when the
ideas.
Britishers came to India, now because a civilization, a military power with a scientific background, so we were so much obsessed with it that the ulama, they decided to go to the corners. They thought we can't, have a confrontation with this civilization as this knowledge. So they can take them to corners so that at least name of Allah, name of Muhammad and name of Islam can be preserved. And that is why, in India and Pakistan, Islam, at least as a religion, is very forceful. Not as a deen, not as a system, social system of life, and just social order, no.
So are we saying that the modern Muslim states that have come after colonialism have failed in retraining Muslim ulama in an Islamic way?
Yes, definitely, I agree. Because actually, after the end of colonialism, so to say, it has not ended up till now, but so to say, the end of colonialism, the people who came to helm of affairs and the helm of affairs rulers, they were all trained by our colonial masters. They were brainwashed. They were they had accepted the Western civilization. And they are ruling. So actually, the colonial rulers are ruling till today by proxy.
But we have an example of Iran where the ulama are in power.
Yes.
If we look at the Muslim scene in the contemporary.
That's the only exception. And that was actually a political movement was hijacked by the ulama.
So the Shiites are better than us.
They have proved that they have more power and endurance and the spirit of sacrifice. And this tragedy of Karbala has persisted in their hearts. So this, to lay down, the virtue of laying down your life, it is within their bones.
What I do see here is a very altruistic underlying theme of the emancipation of the whole mankind as a part of the evolution or the development through the development of the individuals. And I'm trying to relate this to a pluralistic setting. And I'm wondering that how would we conceptualize or envisage such a process taking place? Would it be only through the acceptance of this, or would it be through a process of bringing the various thoughts together and somewhere emphasize and find a paradigm which really moves the humanity forward, the totality of humanity forward? And in that process, I see that the role of change and acceptance of change will be a decisive factor. Now, how do we relate this entire concept in its more global setting and possibly the global future? Because I mean, if you look at the demographics, I think there is a considerable amount of problem inherent in the whole kingdom of God emerging.
Yes, Brother Nirmal, truth is one, and the true deen is one, and we have to propagate it. But for that purpose, we have to emphasize not the dogma or the creed, but the system of social justice, which is the need of all humanity. For 300 years or 400 years, humanity is in search of some just social order. From kingdom, kingship, and these lords and barons and etc., there was French Revolution. But it culminated into capitalism. So there was another revolution, Bolshevik Revolution. It has failed because it was not divine guided, the straight path. In reaction you go to other extreme. So that was extremist. So now again we are back to capitalism and liberalism and secularism and so on. But there will be another step in which humanity will go. But for that purpose, at least in some one sizable country on the globe, we must establish that socio-politico-economic order of Islam, so that people can see with their own eyes, this is Islam. What we have been fighting against was something else. This is Islam. So that is the answer to all the questions humanity is facing today. And that is why now America, when they say we are not against Islam, they are saying true. They accept Islam as a mazhab, as the religion. And it comprises of three parts. Some creed, or dogma, beliefs, some forms of worship, some social customs, what to do with the dead body and how to solemnize the marriage and how to celebrate the birth of a new baby, etc., etc. You can have any belief. You can come to America, buy a synagogue, turn it into a mosque. You can come to America, buy a church and turn it into a synagogue. We have no objection. We are ready to embrace you, but not the political socio-economic system. That is ours. It will remain ours. We don't accept any divine revelation or divine guidance regarding these things. Now, what was the point of difference between the USSR and the Western world? For half a century there was going Cold War, but what for? The political socio-economic system. Otherwise, the Russians and all these countries, Eastern European, they were also Christians. And Western Europe and America was also Christian. There was no fight of creed or something else. It was the system.